Hi everyone and welcome to Open Source Tonight. Today I wanted to talk to you all about how to use the Nginx web server as an RTMP server for media streaming. Let's get right on into it. So we're going to set up our Raspberry Pi here. I'm already SSH'd in. You could also be doing this on the local terminal level, so let's go ahead and run sudo apt install nginx, and the other package we need to get is libnginx-mod-rtmp. Okay? Now in my case, I already prepared for class and it's pre-installed. So we're good to go on that. Next, what we should do now is we should actually go in and configure Nginx, which I've actually also done that before. So let's go in and look at your Nginx configurations. So let's look at etc/nginx/nginx.conf. We'll start there. So here I've got my high quality RTMP information. Now I've set up two applications here. I've set up one that is called live, and I've set up one called live feed. So the way this works is this little script right here, pub.php. What that does is that checks the authentication to make sure that you are actually allowed to stream to the server. Nginx by default doesn't have any security, so this is my way of getting around that, where if it returns an error from that request when you connect, it will just return an error back to you as well over RTMP, and then we're good to go. Your connection goes nowhere, right? You will be rejected and you won't be able to be on the air. On the other hand, if you have the right stream key, again, the right authentication, it will work. The way Nginx works out of the box is any stream key is accepted and creates a stream by that name. I don't want my streaming server, if I set this up on the internet, to be accessed by anybody but me and other trusted parties that are supposed to be transmitting video and audio to it. So that's how we get around that. I'll talk about that more in another video. And then this exec command here is actually going to copy the local stream that we just generated, and it's going to take that and put it on live feed, and then in this case, this specific ID. But that ID, that stream key could be anything. And then we come back up here, and then this right here is the actual public feed. But for simplicity's sake, all you really have to have is the lines highlighted here, okay? You need this. That's what you need to get the minimal streaming setup. But you won't have any security, but you may not need that. If you're gonna be on a local network where everybody on the network that can talk to this server is cool, for whatever the reason, let's say you got a production network that only a few computers is on and it's segregated from all the other traffic in your office, for example, or production location, you may not really have to worry about this. But in my case, I want to build one of these servers and put it online to use as a restreaming server to go to, like, say, YouTube and Twitch and my own website all at the same time. If you want to do something like that and it's going to be on the internet in a data center, you are going to need to lock the security down. The simplest way to do that is to add an allow line. Okay, so we can do an allow line like this. Allow, I can't type today, allow, and then let's say 192.168.1.1112. We save that with Control X, and what do you know? Just like that, we've been able to allow that specific IP. But we also want to disallow any other IPs. I'll put a command on the screen here that you can use, and you can block. What I would say to do in this scenario is, if you've got a static IP, block everything except for the IP that your content's going to originate from. Okay, but for those that don't have a static IP, that's where the pub stuff comes in that I was talking about with the pub.php. But that's a little more complicated, so we're not going to go into that today. Okay, so once we save our changes, so I've just saved them again, Control X with nano, and then I'm going to do Control X again to exit now. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go sudo nginx-t, and you can see it's going to say the config file etc/nginx/nginx.conf. Syntax is okay. Hey, just before we continue the video here, I just wanted to stop real quick and point out that if you want your HLS stream to be accessible from a site that is not on the same server/domain name, then you actually need to add these headers to it. I'd recommend you just do it anyway. Here's the command you need to place inside of your HLS configuration on screen right now. Please just add them so that way that you won't have to worry about it. I would say that's probably the best strategy. Again, this is with limited security because it's opening it up to any site. If you want to lock things down, you can specify specific domains, but I'm not going to get into that. That's a little more complicated. But again, you can do that as well. Now back to the rest of the video. Sorry for the editor's note. Now let's just restart our server. So I'm going to do sudo systemctl Nginx, or no, sorry, restart Nginx. Well, Nginx, there. Took me a minute to get it right. Now our service should be good to go. Let's just confirm that by checking the status with this command on the bottom of the screen, right? But we can use the status command with systemctl on our Raspberry Pi, and you can see active running. So that means we're good to go. We got it working. So the server took our changes and is running. So let's give it a stream to process. So there's a variety of ways to do this. One of the easiest things to do is use OBS, which is what I'm going to do. So it's simple enough to do that. All we have to do is we put in our stream key. With the default configuration where you don't have a PHP file or some other script that is checking the key, it can be anything you want, right? Basically any string of random gibberish that you want to call the stream. It could even be called test. So you'll go to rtmp:// your IP address, external or internal of your box, and then / live in our case for the application name, and then / your key if you're doing something like FFmpeg where you actually have to give it the full path by yourself. But a lot of tools like OBS Studio will actually concatenate the key onto the rest of the stream URL. So in that case, you would just do the RTMP under custom settings in OBS Studio, rtmp:// IP address : or sorry, not colon, but / live / or not a trailing slash either, sorry, but just one / you know, after live. Once you do that, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, here's the example, you can go ahead and stream to it. The other thing I want to point out is with this configuration, you will need to have H.264 for the video codec and AAC for the audio codec for it to properly work. Now, I want to show one more thing. How can we get this to go to YouTube or somewhere else? That's easy. Let's go back into our Nginx config. And I already basically showed that one way to do it. So one way to do it, I just went past it, didn't I? Yeah, here it is. So one thing that I went past already was this exec. So this exec can stream out to YouTube, okay? Or wherever you want. So you could have an FFmpeg command like this that copies the data. Now the other way to do this, there is another way to do this, and that is to do a very, very simple command like this. I could literally come in here and go push, and then the server. So like rtmp://a.youtube.com/live. I think it's live2 / your stream key. Your key. And oh, don't forget the colon at the end, and then that will copy your stream data exactly as is, as far as I understand, exact same bit rate, not going to re-encode it or anything. It's just going to take that same audio and video signal and just send it back out. So you could have multiple of these push statements and be able to re-encode the same feed. And for me, I want to put it in a data center because that way I've got plenty of bandwidth upstream to go to all these different places. So, you know, that can get kind of expensive potentially, which, you know, I don't live stream a lot every week. So the costs, from what I can tell, should be relatively affordable for a provider like DigitalOcean. But you want to check into this if you're going to put it in a data center. But if you've got a really fast internet connection, and say you have an ATEM switcher that can only stream to one RTMP destination, make it this, and then on your local network, and then if you've got plenty of upload speed, you could actually then have it go back and push that feed to 3 or 4 places. Or you could do that with OBS or really anything. So you could think of this like a replacement for Restream. Now, another thing we can do, if we look up here on live feed, we can include this HLS. So we can do Apple HLS or MPEG-live video for playback in a web browser. Again, this is a somewhat technical topic. I'm not going to go into it to too much of a level, but we create this directory here, in our case, /var/www/html/hls, and that's where our files are going to go, our segments of our stream. And then, you know, these are the settings that I'm using. I'll put some information about this that you can find in the description so you can replicate this. But basically, you will put inside your application, let's say it was live down here, you'll put your HLS settings like this. and then you're going to have an HLS file called index.m3u8 that's your actual stream. VLC will play it. For example, there's an open source HLS player for most web browsers that's called hls.js you can use if you're a web developer. Like I said, there's a bunch of ways you can do this. But this hopefully gives you a basic understanding of how to make this happen. I may do another video on the authentication thing in the future, but I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I thank you so much for watching Open Source Tonight, everybody. See y'all next time. Goodbye.
And action.